Sometimes life falls apart so suddenly, it feels impossible to believe that anything good could come from it. But often, what seems like an ending is really the beginning of something we can't yet see. Let me tell you a story. One day, in the stillness of a quiet forest, a young man walked toward a small hut where a wise saint lived. His eyes were swollen from crying. His clothes were torn. He knelt before the saint and whispered, "Everything I had is gone. Robbers took it all. My money, my clothes, my food, even my hope. How can anyone say this happened for a reason?" The saint looked at him with calm, knowing eyes. "My child," he said softly, "sometimes the reason is hidden until we're ready to see it. Let me tell you a story. Once, in a small village, near the river, a terrible flood destroyed everything. Homes, fields, dreams. Among the victims was a poor farmer, his wife, and their only son. Their small hut was gone, their crops washed away. The farmer stared at the empty land and clenched his fists. All my hard work, all my hopes, gone in one night. But his young son touched his shoulder and said quietly, "Father, maybe it's for good." The farmer turned sharply. "For good? We've lost everything. Don't ever say that again." He shouted in anger and sent his son away. As darkness fell, guilt replaced his rage. He sat there, alone, until rescue boats arrived and pulled them to safety. A villager said kindly, "See, your son was right. You're alive, and that's something." But the farmer only sighed. What good is being alive if everything else is gone? Days passed. The farmer tried to find work in the city. Every door closed on him. Hungry, tired, and broken, he came back home. His wife took his hand and said gently, "Maybe it's not the end. Let's hold on a little longer." He nodded, though his heart felt heavy. The next morning, on his way to the city again, he met an old saint sitting under a tree. The saint noticed his sadness and asked, "What troubles you?" "My friend," the farmer told him everything. The flood, his lost home, his missing son, his failures. The saint listened quietly and then said, "Don't curse what you don't yet understand. Even pain has a purpose. Sometimes the worst day of your life is what sets you on the path to the best one." The farmer didn't understand then, but the words stayed with him. Weeks later, he found work with a kind merchant who treated him like family. The merchant gave him a small house and enough pay to live with. Dignity again. One night, someone knocked at his door. When he opened it, his heart stopped. There stood his son, taller, stronger, smiling. "Father," he said, "I've been looking for you. After the flood, I found work in another city. Now I have my own little tea shop. Come with me. Let's start anew." The farmer hugged his son tightly, tears streaming down his face. And in that moment, he finally understood. If the flood had never come, they might still be trapped in the same struggle, never meeting the saint, never finding new life. Everything truly had happened for a reason. The old saint finished his story and looked at the young man before him. The young man wiped his tears and said, "That's a good story. But what about me? My things were stolen. How can that ever be for good?" The saint smiled and reached into his robe. "I found this in the forest," he said, handing him a small glowing stone. It shimmered softly in the sunlight. The legendary philosopher's stone. Said to turn iron into gold, the young man gasped. "If I hadn't been robbed, I'd never have come here, never have met you, never found this." The saint nodded gently. "Exactly. Sometimes loss clears the way for something greater. Trust life, even when you don't understand it yet. So remember this, my friend. When everything goes wrong, when the world feels unfair, when your heart is tired and your path unclear, don't give up. Life is not punishing you. It's preparing you. Time has a strange way of turning pain into purpose. You just have to keep walking long enough to see why." This was Whispered Truths, where every story reminds you that even in silence, life is still guiding you home.